More than 250 people have died in the earthquake that struck Indonesia on Monday. Many are children. Rescue teams continued their search for those trapped under rubble in the city of Cianjur, close to the epicenter of the quake. It struck the mainly mountainous region on the main island of Java. Rescue work has been made more difficult, with teams having to contend with landslides and aftershocks. More than 300 people have been injured and over 13,000 have been taken to evacuation centers. But the true picture of this disaster continues to slowly emerge for both rescuers and victims.
I'm here because I need to find my family, my sister-in-law. She was buried here, under this landslide. There were 3 of them, the mother and her 2 children. I walked all the way from where I was to this place yesterday afternoon. When I got here, nothing was left. Everything was buried.
I was crying and immediately grabbed my husband and children. If I didn't pull them out, we might have become victims. The house was shaking, as if it was dancing.
The rescue operation has been difficult because the condition of the earth is sticky and tools to excavate are inadequate. We don't have enough excavators.
DW correspondent Sharon Sumolang from our Indonesia bureau is in the affected area near the epicenter of the quake. She sent us this report on how rescue operations are progressing.
Currently, I'm at one of the most affected areas, which is the village of Hindered in the district of Cugenang, near the epicenter of the earthquake that happened yesterday that hit West Java. And right now, the evacuation process is being paused because the aftershocks are still happening until now. As you can see, many people are being pushed back. They have to find a safer place because the aftershock just happened right before I did my live reporting. And until this morning, they reported 127 aftershocks have happened since yesterday. I've also talked to several families that are still waiting for their family members. There's nowhere to be found now. And at least there are 30 people that are still trapped under the rubble over there. So the evacuation process have to be very careful because there are still many dead bodies that is under the wreckage. And also they're trying to open the access of the road so that the evacuation process can be continued to the more steep areas over there where it is possibly worse than what happened here.
Brick by brick, rescue teams search through the wreckage for signs of life. Many here in Cianjur, close to the epicenter of the quake, were left trapped inside their homes, schools and businesses as buildings caved in or collapsed. This just one of the hundreds that have been reduced almost entirely to rubble. For some of those who did make it out alive, this is where they have spent the night, a makeshift emergency ward in a hospital car park. IV drips hung by whatever means possible, and medical teams left needing torchlight to help treat the injured. Amongst those receiving care is 48-year-old Kuku.
I have 7 children, and one of them hasn't been found. The children were downstairs, and I was upstairs getting laundry. Everything collapsed beneath me, and I was crushed. My house is flattened.
More medical staff are now urgently needed to help deal with the sheer number of injured that continue to arrive. Most have suffered broken bones or wounds caused by falling debris. The military has been drafted in to help, but authorities say landslides are hampering the relief effort.
There's still an area that's not been evacuated because the road is completely blocked by a landslide, so they can't be evacuated yet.
The number of dead and injured is expected to rise over the coming days as search and rescue teams reach more isolated areas, with authorities facing a mammoth task to find food and shelter for the thousands now left displaced and homeless.
Well, DW correspondent Sharon Sumolang has been reporting from near the earthquake's epicenter. Here she takes us to a treatment centre.
Right now I'm standing in one of the evacuation tents set up in a car park located in the Sayang Hospital in Cianjur area. This hospital has seen many casualties of the earthquake that happened yesterday. As you can see here inside the tent, there are many beds, but some of them are unfilled because some of the patients have already been sent home as they have received medical treatments like stitches or anti-tetanus injection, like mild health treatments. But I talked to the doctor and she said 60% of the casualties are badly injured. So that's why 60% of the patients here are being referred to another hospital, other hospitals here in Cianjur that can provide them serious medical treatment, like surgery for those who suffered traumatic injury. And right now, the hospital have enough medical supplies, but the doctor said that they still wait for more to come. As of now, the officials have reported that there are 252 people who have killed because of the earthquake, with 31 missings and more than 7,000 have been evacuated. The situation is still developing.
So that was Sharon Sumolang reporting from near the epicenter of the Indonesian earthquake. For more, Sudirman Said is the Secretary General of the Indonesian Red Cross. We asked him whether aid is reaching all of the affected areas.
Yes, we are still keep mobilizing the volunteers to give the emergency relief. And most of them are already arrived on the scene and start working since last night. And the good news is I think we can mobilize the volunteers coming from surrounding districts. So it is going to be more effective, more impactful within a couple days to come. And I think, yes, the number is still developing, including the number of deaths. The authority just announced that until this evening, there are 287 people died, and then also there are wounded more than 700. So I think the number is still developing, and we are anticipating for the less favorable condition for the coming days.
All right, we can speak now with DW's Bureau Chief, Georg Mattis, who joins us from Jakarta. Georg, give us an overview of the situation in Cianjur, the most affected area right now.
Yeah, still a very desperate situation in Cianjur. The main roads have now been cleared, so there is access for rescue forces that have come in with heavy gear from Jakarta, but night has set in. And as we have seen in the report, the clock is now ticking to find those survivors. The rescue teams on site have pledged that they want to look for them for 7 days, but obviously the earlier they find them, the more chances that people are still healthy and may have survived. The big problem is that entire areas have been hit by landslides that were triggered by that earthquake. And so it will take some time until you get to the places where people may still be trapped.
So such a difficult situation. How have the authorities been managing the rescue operations and indeed the needs of the many survivors?
Well, initially, the main problem for rescue workers was the access to areas. Now that has been cleared with heavy machinery coming in from Jakarta. But I spoke earlier with our correspondent on site of her what she thinks how things have gone, and she said actually the rescue work was done pretty well. The bigger problem is what many people have said on site is the long-term effect fact that people should have been warned about these kind of earthquakes. Now, a 5.6 magnitude earthquake is not such a big deal in Indonesia that is regularly hit by earthquakes. The problem with this one was not only that the soil there is particularly soft, and so the earthquake was particularly strong, not being very shallow. The bigger problem here is that the houses were built in such a bad state, not fit for an earthquake-prone region. And that is what many people now say the government and authorities should have warned people, should have made sure that these houses are in a better state.
Georg, pretty clearly people in that part of Indonesia need a lot right now, but what do people now need most?
Well, 13,000 people have lost their houses. Then you have a lot of people who are simply scared that the houses that are damaged may not withhold the many quakes that are following the big one. And so they also camp outside. So tents are needed, blankets are needed, food supplies are needed for all these people that are now camping in the dark outside for the foreseeable nights to come until there are better makeshift shelters available. And then there's, of course, the big question of medical help. Many hospitals still overwhelmed in the area.
Georg Mattis in Jakarta, thank you.